think Kamala would have
Graceful.
would they have given Trump credit?
At all.
Zero.
That's what I'm saying. So, Pat, what I'm saying is we deserve, and I don't want retribution. I don't want them to, but we want a little bit of, okay, you messed up, there's your penalty. Hunter Biden, he belongs in prison. I know we're going to get there. That guy belongs in prison, and Joe Biden should have been impeached. We want some accountability. Mr. Fauci, we want that too. So a Zuckerberg, and you're right, Pat, it could kind of go both ways. But if for what he did, that letter to me is just going, hey, let me just, I'm sorry. They were telling me, the White House was telling me.
When he wrote the letter, if you remember when we talked about it on the podcast, Rob, if you can remember when he wrote the letter, just find the dates. It's Dear Honorable Chairman Jordan. That's what the letter is, right?
Dear, did he say dear?
I actually think he said dear, which is, can you go to the letter? Is that the date? Can you just click
August
on the images?
30th.
Can you go on the images? Let's see how he opens it up.
Did you say dear, Pat? Is dear in there? Dear Congressman? Your Honorable
Chairman Jordan. Honorable Jim Jordan. Yeah. So when he wrote this letter, what's the date on it? See if it says the date on this
August
thing.
26th.
Okay, August 26th. August 26th, July 13th, that is 6 weeks after Trump got assassination attempted, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we responded to this, I said this is Zuck's way of saying he thinks Trump's winning. If you remember how we reacted to this, that was my position that I took. Okay. But also at the same time, none of us knew. Let's face it, guys. On August 26th, everybody here wasn't Trump's winning. Let's not get it twisted.
I wasn't 100%.
No, everybody here was like, 51-49, right? Yeah. And remember, this was still the honeymoon stages of, when did they announce Kamala? Can you?
July 21st.
July 21st. Is that the date?
Rob,
okay.
Wasn't that, or is that the Biden letter? Or is that the Kamala date?
So let's find out what the exact date. I'm trying to get sequencing down with this. I just want to know when they announced Biden stepping down. 21st. Okay. So July 21st. You got a spot on. Okay. So when you look at that, exactly 5 weeks later, he writes the letter. 5 weeks later, on every poll, she is still ahead. And they were like, she's going to win, she's going to this, she's going to that, okay?
Yeah, it was the anti-Biden bounce. She's our girl.
For sure, okay. So he wrote that letter. Do you know how risky of a letter that is to write? Let me explain to you how risky the letter that is to write. Let's say he writes that letter. There was another 1 or 2 attempts on Trump.
Yeah.
If one succeeds, Kamala wins, what happens to him for the next 4 years with the left? Do you know what they do to him on Facebook? Oh, they will destroy him and humiliate him and do everything they can to hurt him. It's better to write that letter after somebody wins because it's safer. The safer time to write the letter is after November 5th. The safer time. Okay? You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
Okay. The risky time to write it is when? 5 weeks after Kamala's announced and America's done with Biden after the debate with Trump, which was embarrassing, and the assassination attempt, to realize that Biden cannot beat Trump. They bring Kamala in, young, fresh, all this stuff, right? He writes this letter. I'm convinced that he is going through the evolution himself. I'm convinced when they wrote that letter, I guarantee you some people in his camp, on his board, who are on the left said, don't write this letter. Imagine you have a board. Where's he based out of? Silicon Valley? I don't know where Facebook is. I'm going to say it's somewhere in the Cupertino area.
Sure.
What percentage of his board do you think are left?
99%.
Can you type in Meta board? Type in Meta board of directors. Meta board of directors.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say 100%.
I'm telling you this. So if you zoom in a little bit, okay, let's go through who it is. All right, so...
Well, we know where
go
he's
up.
from.
Let's see Javier Olivan. Tom, do you know Javier or no? Zoom in a little bit to see what his background is and what he did. Prior to that, he was a product manager at Siemens Mobile, functional charge. Okay, let's see who the next guy is. Nick, President Global Affairs at Meta. What's his background? Prior to this, he was UK Parliament in 2005, European Commission, 5 years European Parliament, Liberal Democrat Party in 2007. He became the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party 2007, the Deputy Prime Minister in the UK. So, left, Susan Lee. You just saw Susan Lee. That's the lady that Tom was talking about who was involved in the political stuff. Isn't this the same lady?
Was it Nancy or Susan?
Is it Susan
No,
Lee?
that's Lindy Lee.
Okay, go back. So
she might be your cousin.
So this is Where was she at? Finance and business planning and treasury. She joined the company, vice president of finance. 2000, she was in investment banking, Morgan Stanley. Next, the likelihood of 80% of these guys being liberal. Okay, Andrew went to Harvard. Chris Cox, I don't know what his background is, what they're doing. The point is, okay, Stanford, 80% of these guys are probably liberal. So now imagine you're going up there saying, guys, I want to send this letter out. What do you think they're telling them?
Are you sure?
Tom, what do you think the board is telling Zuck?
So Zuck was trying to find, I just sent you 2 clips, Rob, and if you could find the one from Wired. So Wired, fair to say, Bible of Silicon Valley, not bombastic. They carefully researched stories, well-respected publication. Facebook had been dealing with the ire of the Democrats for a while. And I do not believe for a second that it was lost on Zuckerberg, that in many ways he was a man without a country. Wired, here's how Facebook actually won Trump the presidency back 2016. People were pissed at him because they were trying to do all the Russian collusion stuff, but people thought Facebook didn't do enough. It actually had helped Trump influence voters through Facebook, and they were pissed off about it. And then, go to the next clip, Rob. This is very interesting. There's the one that was right there. Those guys right there, Politico. Angry Democrats pose rising risk for Facebook. So Zuckerberg has felt the heat from the Dems that felt that he didn't stand in line enough. And so I think his board would have looked at it and say, Mark, the Dems have been upset with us for a while. I don't know if you want to write this letter.
Exactly. You validate my point even more, Tom, because here's what happens. So, Tom, let me explain
That's what I was doing.
I know that.
I was giving you facts.
I love that. But the point I'm trying to make is I was thinking maybe you were going to take a different angle.
No.
My concern is this. Tom, we're in the room. You've been in a room where people disagree with me, and I'm by myself.
Kamala's going to win this thing. She's got to bounce. Why write the letter now?
I was in a board meeting, guys. It was like I'm going against everybody against me. I'm like, what the F are you guys talking about? And it was 3 hours extended into a longer meeting. Sometimes...
the COVID policy discussion.
Well, that was one of them. Yes, for sure that was one of them. That was the nastiest one. But for you to know your board, your investors are not going to support you writing that letter and you still write it and you post it, I don't know, man. You got to applaud that. And for me... I don't know what he's going through, a recreating of himself and rebuilding of himself. I'm actually curious to know what he ends up turning into. And by the way, now that common sense community, because to me it's common sense. It's not Republicans. They want to say Republican. To me, common sense. Puberty blockers are bad under 18. Common sense. You want to do it above 18? Look, I don't agree with it, but go ahead and do what you want to do with it, right? Common sense. LGBTQ being taught too early to school, to kids, it's bad. Common sense. Not allowing Tesla to do what they want to do and targeting them in your state and driving business owners out is bad, right? Gas taxing people over and over and over and over again, driving, it's bad, right? These are bad. So common sense. Musk, common sense. Rogan, common sense. Zuck, as you age, more common sense. Trump, common sense. Tulsi, common sense. Bobby, common sense. Vivek, common sense. So this is the part where right now, the positioning of what's happening, you now have Google and YouTube over here. I don't know. I just think this is I'm glad Trump's team reached out. Stephen Miller, if he sees this, you guys are strategic moves you're making, very impressive. Zuck, freaking phenomenal for going out there and sitting down. And Musk, please stay paranoid because you need to hold everybody. Someone in the room needs to be the guy that's going to be like, yeah, I don't know yet. That's okay. Someone needs to play that flag carrier role. Go ahead and give your thoughts, and I'm going to move on to the next story.
I think we just got to give Zuck a little credit for growing and evolving. I mean, you highlighted the fact that he started Facebook out of his dorm when he's 19 years old. He just turned 40. By the way, he's a father of 3 daughters. He's a girl dad. So for 20 years, this guy's been in the limelight, billionaire. Of course he's going to grow. Of course he's going to evolve. He's been in front of everybody his whole life, his whole adult life. So You talked about, how Dylan's got the Riz, but Tico's developing the Riz. The Riz, there's that. I would say that you think Zuck had Riz when he was 19, 20 years old. He started Facebook because he couldn't meet any girls. That was the whole premise of it. So you see these days, Zuck specifically, now he's doing UFC. He's fighting. He's saying things like when Trump got shot in the face and he got up, quote unquote, that was one of the most badass things I've ever seen. With Emily Chang, Adrian's old flame. I'll tell you about that. But we're at model volleyball in South Beach this past year, right? Model volleyball, you showed up. Who walks by out of nowhere? Mark Zuckerberg. We're like, did Zuck just walk by? Yeah, that was Zuck. What is this guy doing in South Beach? He's growing, he's developing. You got to give him credit for that. By the way, I was right. 2 years ago, Rob, I don't know if you had this, Facebook stock, when they changed their name to Plummet, you remember this, PBD? I know you were just a huge fan of the NFT world at that point, and they changed their name to Meta, and everyone's NFTs, it's ever going like that. Facebook stock plummeted down to 92.